Kevin's palm flew fast. The sound echoed off the living room walls. Naomi's head jerked to the side. Her cheek turned red, warm, stinging. She didn't touch it. She didn't move. She just stood there, her hands still by her sides. The casket sat behind them, not far, 5 steps at most. It was open. Her husband's face lay still among fading lilies. The quiet voices of mourning guests filled the room like low music. But inside Naomi, everything had gone silent. Kevin stood tall in front of her, shoulders squared. His voice came sharp and cold. "I said it clearly, didn't I? Get out." He wasn't shouting. That made it worse. His wife stood close behind him. Her arms stayed crossed tight over her chest. She didn't blink. A little smile tugged at the edge of her lips. Her chin lifted, just enough to look down at Naomi like a stranger, like a woman who'd already won. Naomi didn't speak. Her eyes stayed on Kevin's face. His eyes didn't meet hers. He looked at the floor, then the window, anywhere else. She didn't flinch. She didn't shout. She just breathed once, deep, then turned away. Her black shoes made no sound on the wood floor. That floor, they had laid it together, plank by plank, 37 years ago. At the edge of the hallway, a suitcase leaned against the wall. Still packed. Still zipped. She had never unpacked after the hospital. Her hand closed around the handle. The wheels clicked softly as she pulled it behind her. She didn't take the photo albums. She didn't take the ceramic angel. She didn't take her favorite quilt from the armchair in the corner. But she walked out with one thing tucked safe in her bag. The mortgage papers. The front door creaked open. Cold air rushed in. It hit her skin, but it didn't make her shiver. Her cheek still burned where Kevin's hand had landed. But the wind felt softer than that. Snow drifted down. Thin flakes clung to her black coat. She didn't brush them off. The driveway stretched ahead, quiet. On her left, the old car, paid in full. On her right, the rose bushes, planted with her husband on their 20th anniversary. Above her, the wind chimes, they barely moved now. Once, they danced whenever Kevin came home from school. The door didn't open behind her. No footsteps followed. No voice called her name. She kept walking. At the street corner, she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone. Her thumb moved slow over the screen. She called for a taxi. A small bench sat outside a gas station across the road. She crossed, sat, and waited. Inside the station, a teenage boy looked through the window. He stepped outside. He squinted at her face. His eyes widened just a little. "Ma'am, are you okay?" She gave a slow nod. Her voice came quiet. "I'm fine. Just waiting for a ride." The boy looked back toward the store, then down at her hands. "Do you want to wait inside where it's warm?" She didn't answer with words. She just stood up. Inside, the heater hummed. The boy didn't say anything more. He didn't look too long at her face. He didn't ask questions. The motel sat a few blocks away. Taxi left her there. The front desk smelled of bleach. The woman at the counter handed her a blanket and a steaming cup of tea. Naomi took neither. She just nodded and walked to the room. He shut the door. She didn't unpack. She didn't turn on the TV. She lay on the bed. The ceiling above her had a crack running across the middle. She watched it for hours. Her fingers touched her cheek, finally. The skin was swollen. It pulsed under her touch. But that wasn't what kept her awake. The words did. "This isn't your home anymore." That house. She had cleaned it from attic to basement. Paid for it brick by brick. Boiled soup in that kitchen when her husband had the flu. Lit candles during power cuts. Prayed at the window. Sang while ironing. Fought, laughed, forgave under that roof. She had given everything to that house. And they told her to leave it like it was nothing. But her lips curled slightly now. Just the corners. Kevin didn't know everything. He didn't know her name was still on the papers. He didn't know she signed the mortgage with his father. He didn't know her name still sat on the deed. Her husband had made sure of that. He had whispered it to her, voice dry and weak, just before his final night in the hospital. His hand had clutched hers. "If I go first, don't tell Kevin about the documents. Not unless he hurts you." She had nodded. She had understood. The documents waited in a metal box at the bank. Inside the papers. Letter. A second will. And one clause. Just one. Her fingers rested flat on her chest. Her eyes stayed on the ceiling. The snow outside kept falling. Naomi picked up the phone early that morning. Her fingers pressed the numbers slowly, steady but firm. When the bank answered, she spoke clearly, giving her name, ID, and account details. The banker's voice came back through the line. "You're listed as a co-owner and co-borrower, ma'am. You can stop the automatic payments." Naomi said, "Thank you," then hung up. By noon, the locksmith's tools scratched against the old door. The locks clicked and changed. Kevin's footsteps echoed through the house, confused and heavy. The door showed marks where someone had forced it open. Days later, the phone rang at Naomi's quiet room. The bank's voice told Kevin things he wasn't ready to hear. Naomi listened from afar, silent. She had lived a life wrapped in silence. That house didn't appear out of nowhere. It wasn't a gift. Brick by brick, payment by payment, it rose, built with sweat and sacrifice. Back in 2002, snow blanketed the streets deeper than usual. The heating bills had nearly broken them. Naomi and her husband sat across from the bank officer, signing papers. Her hands shook enough to smudge the ink. She had insisted on her name on that paper, not because she didn't trust him, but because his credit was broken. His auto repair shop had failed. Banks had turned him away more than once. Naomi worked at the clinic. For over 10 years, she had sat behind the desk, filing charts and answering phones. Her income was steady. Her credit clean. Her name opened the door to the loan. Their names were side by side on the deed. They rarely spoke about it. But once, while planting hydrangeas by the porch, her husband whispered, "We built this. Together." Every month they paid the mortgage on time. Sometimes they ate cheap dinners. Christmas came with fewer presents. The roof leaked here and there, patched with duct tape and willpower. But the payments always came. The mail came addressed to both. But when her husband grew sick, the man who had once lifted her over puddles struggled to lift a coffee mug. Medical bills piled up. Insurance barely helped. His strength faded. Naomi added hours at work. She switched to night shifts. She learned to stretch 2 bags of groceries over a whole week. On weekends, she cleaned houses, gloves hiding cracked skin on her hands. She never complained. Not to him. Not to Kevin. Years later, Kevin locked her out of the house her name had helped build. They walked its halls like rulers of a kingdom they never earned. Kevin's wife changed the curtains, painted the walls, remodeled the kitchen. Never once asking Naomi. "This is my space," she told Naomi coldly. Naomi stepped back. She wanted peace, not fights. But peace never came. They gave her orders instead. One evening, Naomi dusted the bookshelf. Kevin's wife looked up. "You should ask before touching things," she said sharply. "We're trying to keep the look consistent." Naomi held her breath, turned away, and shut her door. She sat down, tears falling quietly. Not from the words, but from the future she saw. They were rewriting the story of that house. And Kevin let them. He stopped saying our house. Now it was their house. He no longer asked Naomi's opinion. She was just a guest. Tolerated, never welcome. Naomi kept silent. No arguments. No waving papers. No shouting. But she saved everything. Every mortgage statement. Every payment slip. Every copy of the deed. She kept them in a neat folder in the bottom drawer. When her husband died, she put that folder in a safe deposit box, along with his will and a letter he had left her. That letter came a week before he died. Kevin and his wife were out buying groceries. Naomi's husband called her to the bedroom. He lay thin in bed, bones showing through his worn flannel pajamas. but his eyes were sharp. "Sit with me," he said softly. She sat. He reached into the drawer and pulled out a small brown envelope. "Don't open this yet," he said, handing it to her. "And don't tell Kevin it exists. Not unless—" He coughed, struggling. "Not unless what?" Naomi asked. He looked at her long and steady. "Not unless he hurts you." Naomi's heart tightened. "What do you mean?" "I've seen how he talks to you. The way she treats you. And he lets her." Naomi looked away. "You're overthinking," she whispered. "He's just stressed." Her husband shook his head slowly. "You've been too kind. That's why I had the lawyer prepare these papers. Just in case. If I go first, and they turn on you, I want you safe." His voice cracked. Now the door slammed. They thought they had taken control. But they didn't know the house's story. They didn't know it wasn't just wood and paint. It was names. And one of those names still belonged to Naomi. Naomi's fingers pressed harder on the envelope, the paper crinkling beneath her touch. She blinked as if to clear her mind, eyes fixed on the sealed edges, then slowly peeled it open. Inside lay a folded letter and a thin legal document, stamped and signed. Her husband's voice echoed softly in her memory, his serious tone carrying the weight of his words. If Kevin ever crossed the line, insulted, abused, or forced Naomi out, he would lose everything. No money, no land, no claim. Her hands trembled, the paper fluttering slightly as she unfolded the letter. The woman behind the bank counter looked up as Naomi approached the next morning. Her name tag read Nandi. She offered a kind smile. "Safe deposit box." Nandi's voice was gentle. Naomi nodded, voice steady but soft. "Box 331, under Naomi Williams." Nandi scanned Naomi's ID carefully, then handed over a small metal key. They walked to a private room, where Naomi slid open the heavy box. She carefully placed the letter, the supplemental will, a USB with mortgage scans, and a worn copy of the property title inside. She tagged it all in case of emergency, then closed the box with a soft click. She stepped away, eyes downcast, unwilling to think about the future that might make her use these papers. 3 days later, after the slap, Naomi returned. Nandi wasn't at the desk. A young man greeted her, voice soft and respectful. "In need of access?" he asked. Naomi nodded, words quiet. "Box 331. He led her again to the same room. She paused, then opened the box. Her hand stayed steady now. She pulled out the letter, edges yellowed but Kevin's handwriting still clear and strong. Her eyes moved slowly over the words she had learned by heart. "To my dearest Naomi." Her throat tightened. A lump rose as she read how he recognized her strength, her sacrifice, the life she had built. No one, not even their son, could erase what was hers. She swallowed hard and traced the lines about the clause in the will, the power he gave her if she needed to use it. Kevin's signature, dated just weeks before his last hospital stay, felt like a silent promise. She looked down at the legal paper beneath, words sharp and clear. If Kevin ever hurt her or tried to kick her out, he lost all rights. Everything would transfer to a trust under Naomi's control. Witness signatures glinted on the page. The notary's stamp sealed it. Naomi breathed in deeply, sitting still for a long moment. She slid the documents back into the box, lifted the USB, and tucked it into her purse. Later, she would send everything to her lawyer, along with the recording she made the night of the slap, the proof she kept safe. His harsh words echoed in her mind. "This isn't your home anymore. Get out." The next morning, snow lay hard and icy on the ground. Naomi's boots crunched softly as she stepped carefully, not rushing but purposeful. She was steady. She was calm. No fear showed in her eyes. She was done with silence. Inside the bank, the clock read 9:05 a.m. Naomi sat across from a woman in a burgundy blazer. Her name tag read Martha. Her eyes were kind, but curiosity flickered as Naomi spoke. "You want to stop the mortgage payments, Mrs. Williams?" Naomi's voice was firm. "Yes." And I want to see the full loan file. The originals if possible. Martha blinked, fingers tapping the keyboard. We can make copies. But this could affect. Naomi cut her off, steady and sure. I'm the co-borrower. The loan's in my late husband's name and mine. I have every right to stop payments. My name's on every page. Martha nodded slowly. You're right. And you're listed as co-owner on the property title. Naomi's lips pressed together. Then prepare the papers. Martha excused herself briefly. She came back holding a thick folder with Naomi's name typed on the tab. Naomi's eyes softened. 45 years of papers, payments, all her proof. She picked up a pen and signed the revocation form. Less than 15 minutes passed. 15 minutes to undo what others thought unbreakable. Martha placed the file on the glass desk and slid it gently toward Mrs. Williams. Anything else I can help with? She asked, standing straight, hands folded in front of her. Mrs. Williams didn't blink. Yes, I'll send the file to my lawyer today. Until then, flag the account. No payments. No changes. Not without my written consent. Martha gave a short nod. We'll lock it. Mrs. Williams turned and walked toward the exit. The bank doors opened automatically. A strong breeze blew her coat sideways. She caught the edge and pulled it tightly across her chest. Her heels clicked on the pavement as she crossed to the other side. Her face was calm. No anger. No shaking. Just a steady walk into something she had quietly prepared for. Inside her tiny apartment, she sat at the table, the legs of the metal chair squeaking on the tile. She opened her laptop and pushed in the USB stick. The folder opened right away. Dozens of scanned files appeared. Kevin's handwriting in every label. Dates, file types, legal terms she had read over and over. She scrolled all the way down. One more file. She dragged it in slowly. The audio from the night Kevin slapped her. That night, the small recorder had been tucked inside her coat. She had meant to record a reminder for her medicine. But instead, it had caught his voice, the sharp sound, and the words that still rang in her chest. This isn't your home anymore. Get out. She stared at the file for a long moment, then dragged it into the cloud drive and typed a short message to Ruth Amara, Kevin's old lawyer. Subject. Urgent activation of Clause 16A. I attach everything, the recording, the scanned will, the mortgage file. She clicked send. 5 minutes later her phone rang. She didn't rush. She answered calmly. Mrs. Williams. Yes. This is Ruth Amara. I've seen your email. I've gone through everything. The woman's voice was soft but clear, the kind that didn't shake even with bad news. I'm sorry about what happened. But you've done everything exactly right. Mrs. Williams kept still. Her fingers rested on the edge of the table. Clause 16A is valid, Ruth continued. The audio proves verbal abuse. An eviction without grounds. Your son loses all inheritance. Starting now. Can you move forward with this? Yes. I'll notify the court today. We'll send a cease and desist letter to your son's lawyer. All estate assets will be frozen. Do you have somewhere to stay? For now. Good. Let's set a review meeting soon. But know this, your power isn't gone. You've already used it. Mrs. Williams said thank you. Then she ended the call. That night she sat by the window. The motel light buzzed above her. Outside, a single tree swayed gently. There were no car horns. No footsteps. No arguments floating from the kitchen. Just stillness. She rested her head back and let the quiet fill her. Kevin had feared this more than dying. He'd once told her that what came after, what the world would do to her when he was gone, kept him up at night. He had been right. Mrs. Williams had forgiven him too many times. Missed birthdays. Cold mornings. Promises that never became truth. She had called it love. She had called it patience. Now she called it enough. By morning Ruth had filed the papers. The court placed a hold on everything connected to the estate. Within 2 days, her son would receive the news. The bank updated their system. The mortgage was flagged. No more payments allowed. No changes unless she signed. Mrs. Williams became more than a name on a form. She became the wall no one saw coming. She didn't call her son. Didn't explain. Didn't argue. She simply moved. At the pharmacy, the girl behind the counter smiled. She handed Mrs. Williams her bag, then turned her phone toward her. "Look," she whispered. "Your daughter-in-law's posting about the house." Mrs. Williams leaned in. The photo looked like it belonged in a magazine. The living room walls were pale gray now. The curtains shimmered gold. The couch was too white for children. Everything gleamed. But what made her pause was the caption. "Fresh start. Goodbye to the darkness. Hello to our forever home." Her mouth didn't move. She took her bag. She nodded once. Outside the air was dry. She walked home slowly. Her feet didn't rush, but inside her chest, something shifted. Not pain. Not hate. Just the cold weight of truth. They believed they had won. They thought she had vanished like an old dress in a donation bin. Used, forgotten. They had no idea what was already moving behind them. New photos popped up every day. Bright kitchens, fluffy beds, glass chandeliers. The captions kept smiling. Finally ours. One short clip showed Kevin on a ladder, hanging a wooden sign over the hallway. "Love lives here." They laughed in the background. Guests came in and out, holding glasses, posing by the walls Kevin once painted with his own hands. Through it all, no one called her. No one asked where she was. No one thanked her. Then the 31st day arrived. The bank system sent the letter. Subject: Default Notice, Williams Residence. Due to the co-borrower's revocation of payment authorization and failure to meet scheduled obligations, the mortgage is in breach of contract. If not resolved within 10 business days, the property will be marked for foreclosure and repossession. Mrs. Williams didn't need to watch them read it. She could picture it clearly. The envelope in shaking hands. The paper held too tight. The frown growing deeper. The room going quiet. She imagined the moment their eyes darted across the words, searching for a way out. Then the heat. Panic. Because they hadn't read the fine print. They never imagined she still mattered. But she was the bite. She was the name on the deed. She was the hand beneath the roof. And now, she was the reason it all began to break. Naomi's phone lit up on the small table. The screen glowed with a name, Kevin. Her hand paused above it. The soft ringtone buzzed through the quiet room. She stared at the screen without moving, lips tight, her face calm but hard. For a moment she didn't reach for it. Then, slowly, she pressed the green button. She brought the phone to her ear. A shaky voice came through. "Mom." Her eyes didn't blink. Her mouth stayed shut. I don't understand. We got a letter about the house. Says something about foreclosure. What's going on?" Still no answer. Did you touch the payments?" She waited. 1, 2, 3 seconds. Then she finally spoke. "Yeah." The voice on the other end cracked. Why would you do that? We're going to lose the house." Her lips pressed tighter. She said nothing. "Mom, please." The voice broke now, and she could hear the breaths. Shaky, like someone crying but trying not to. "We didn't mean it. It was just..." Emotions were high after Dad's funeral. "We weren't thinking." Naomi sat still. Her eyes didn't move. "Please," the voice whispered softer now. "We can fix this. Just call the bank. Tell them it was a mistake. Restart the payments. We can talk. We can figure something out." Her eyelids closed for a few seconds. That same voice. The same voice that told her to leave. The same voice that stood beside a woman painting over the walls she once cared for. The same voice that did nothing when her things were taken. "I can't," she said, quiet but sure. "But it's your house too." Her eyes opened slowly. "No," her voice was calm like water not moving. "You told me it wasn't. Remember?" She didn't wait. Her finger pressed the red button. The call ended. She tapped again, block number. Later that night she sat by the window. Outside, cars passed, their sounds low and steady. A warm mug sat in her palms, steam rising. Her blanket was pulled up to her waist. Her eyes watched the city, but her thoughts were somewhere else. The living room buzzed with quiet voices. A long table stretched across the space. Coffee steam rose in the air. Lemon cookies sat untouched on small plates. The house smelled clean, too clean. The walls felt too bright. Kevin sat at the table's head. His suit jacket looked pressed. His face did not. His wife, in a pale pink blazer, had a smile on her lips but tension in her jaw. The door opened. Naomi stepped in. Her tote bag hung from one shoulder. She didn't say a word. Not to Kevin's wife, not even to Kevin. She moved toward the center of the room. Her steps were firm. When she reached the table, she placed her bag down and unzipped it. One by one, her hands moved. A will. Another will. A USB stick. A paper with a red stamp in the corner. No one spoke. Naomi sat across from Kevin. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came. His wife's hand grabbed the chair's edge. From the side, Ruth stood. Her black folder stayed in her hands. "Thank you for coming," she began, calm and steady. "I represent Mrs. Naomi Williams, widow of Mr. Martin Williams. We're here to present the legal updates regarding Mr. Williams's estate." Kevin raised a hand quickly. His face looked hot. "Wait, why now? I thought everything." Ruth lifted her palm slightly. "Please let me finish." His hand dropped. She lifted the second will and held it up. This document was signed in 2017. Clause 17b says that if Kevin Williams insults, harms, or kicks out Mrs. Naomi Williams, he loses all rights to the inheritance. A cousin leaned over and whispered, "Eviction." Ruth gave a small nod. "We gave proof. Audio proof." Kevin said, "This isn't your home anymore. Get out." That was the same day of Mr. Williams's funeral. Kevin pushed his chair back and stood fast. The chair fell behind him. That was taken out of context. Ruth stayed still. She reached into her bag and took out a speaker. Her thumb pressed a button. Kevin's voice came out loud and clear. "This isn't your home anymore. Get out." Then a sharp sound. Lap. Then silence. Everyone sat frozen. Some hands went to mouths. Others to hearts. Naomi didn't flinch. Ruth clicked pause. "Because of this, Mr. Kevin Williams has no more legal claim to the estate. All assets now belong to Mrs. Naomi Williams." She turned slightly. "You can decide what you want to do next. The law is fully behind you." Naomi's eyes scanned the faces. The aunts who said nothing when she was forced out. The cousins who disappeared. The uncles who watched like it wasn't their problem. Now every eye was on her. Kevin slowly sat again. His shoulders looked smaller. "Mom." His voice came out low. "I didn't mean it. I was hurting. You know me. I wouldn't." Her voice came soft, but her words were sharp. "You did." She leaned a little closer, her eyes on him. "You said it in front of your wife. You said it next to your father's body. Then you changed the locks. You posted photos of my kitchen and called it your forever home. You knew exactly what you were doing." Kevin's wife opened her mouth to speak. Ruth raised her hand. "This isn't up for discussion. The documents are final." Kevin dropped his face into his palms. "I'm going to lose everything." Naomi leaned in just a little. "You already did." Kevin's face turned to hers. His eyes were wet. "I'm your son." Naomi sat back, her voice calm. "I was your mother. You treated me like I was renting your space." No one spoke. Even the coffee had stopped steaming. Naomi stood. She gathered the papers, slipped them into her tote, and zipped it closed. Her boots clicked against the floor as she walked toward the door. She stopped, looked back once. Her face held no hate, just truth. "I didn't come for revenge," she said. "I came with the truth. What you do with it next is your choice." Then she opened the door. The air outside waited. And inside no one moved. The silence stayed. Naomi heard the knock before she saw who it was. 3 soft taps, hesitant and quiet. Then silence. Then another tap, like they weren't sure if they should knock again or leave. She opened the door slowly. Kevin stood in the hallway, rain soaking through his shirt, water dripping from his collar. His wife stood a step behind, her eyes red-rimmed but dry. Kevin looked older, worn beyond a month's time. No coat to shield him. "Mom," his voice broke. Naomi stayed still, silent. "I didn't know where else to go," Kevin stammered. "The house, foreclosure. The letter. I tried to stop it but they said I wasn't authorized. The payments stopped. I had no say." "You don't," Naomi said flatly. Kevin's face twisted. He dropped to his knees on the worn carpet outside her door. "Please, Mom. Sorry. We're sorry." His wife bowed her head but stayed standing. She gripped her purse like claws, trembling like a trapped animal. Kevin whispered, "I made a mistake. We both did. Pride got in the way. We thought we did right but we were cruel. We were wrong." Naomi didn't move. "Please, Mom. Talk to the bank. Reinstate the mortgage. Let us pay. We'll fix it. You can come home or not. Just don't let us lose the house." Naomi stepped forward, not inviting them in. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded document in a clear sleeve. She handed it to Kevin. "This is the deed transfer. As of yesterday, the house is no longer mine." Kevin blinked. "What? I sold it. To who?" his wife asked, voice sharp and panicked. "To the Elder Protection Foundation," Naomi said. "They'll make it a home for senior women who lost their place. Women like me." Kevin opened his mouth, but no words came. "You sold it," he whispered. Naomi nodded. "Cash buyer. Immediate transfer. It's done." Kevin's hands shook as he gripped the paper. "Why? It was our home." "No," Naomi said quietly. "It was never yours. I built it with your father. Paid for it with sweat, second jobs, silence. You lived in it. You used it. But it wasn't yours." Kevin's wife finally spoke. "That was a mistake. We got carried away. You could have talked to us." "I tried," Naomi said. "At dinner when you dismissed me. When you rolled your eyes. When you passed me like furniture. You spoke. You didn't listen." Kevin looked down. His shoulders shook. "I don't want your apology," Naomi said. "I want your understanding." "I do," he said, tears falling. Naomi saw her boy, the one who once gave her crayon cards on Mother's Day, who held her hand crossing streets, who ran into her arms after school. He had grown into a man who forgot home. Now he knelt. Naomi stood. "I forgive you," she said. "But I won't fix this." Kevin nodded slowly, painfully. Naomi turned and stepped inside. "I didn't keep the house," she said. "I kept my peace." She closed the door. Locked it for the first time in years. Not to keep out but to keep peace in. Naomi used part of the sale to buy a small cabin by the lake. No fancy things. No hot tub. Just 4 strong walls, a wood stove, and a view that made silence feel like music. One morning, barefoot on the porch, coffee warming her hands, she watched mist rise off the water. So quiet she heard her breath. No locks. No voices behind doors. No one demanding reasons. Just trees, sky, and silence. She slept through the night. No slammed doors, no shouting. Just sleep. Just peace. Slowly she unpacked. One box at a time. A photo of her husband smiling in the garden. A crocheted blanket from his chemo days. A thick folder with her life's papers. Small black recorder. The recorder held the moment they tried to erase her. Now it would help her take back her story. She set up her laptop by the window, plugged in the recorder, hit play. Kevin's voice filled the room, but Naomi didn't flinch. She opened a blank document and typed. About hydrangeas planted in '89. About fixing the roof together after snow collapsed it, with ladders and prayer. About Kevin's birth. His first mom. She wrote not to blame but to remember. To reclaim years spent folding herself small to keep peace. That evening she sent her first audio file. Her story raw and true to Naomi's life stories. Her voice said, "Getting older makes you invisible. But age is silence gathering power. Silence is not surrender. It is preparation. I didn't lose a home. I reclaimed a world. If you've ever been pushed out of the life you built, know this. You're not alone. You are not done." She didn't expect listeners. But they came. Women, grandmothers, silent rooms. I thought I was the only one. I never heard what I felt. Thank you for speaking for me. Silence changed into a choir. A quiet army with nothing to prove, everything to say. Naomi still lived in that cabin. Still woke with the light. Still sipped coffee slow. Let peace linger. Sometimes she thought of Kevin. The house. What might have been. Then she remembered. What she lost was just walls. What she gained was truth. Truth doesn't rot. Wait. And when it speaks, it doesn't shout. Just doesn't stop. I hope you enjoyed today's story. If you did, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories like this. Leave a like and comment below to share your thoughts. See you in the next video. And don't forget to share it with friends and family who love heart